Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News Podcast. It's your host, Matt Zahab. We are buzzing as always, and I'm super pumped to have today's guest on the show, the one and only Luke Barwikowski, the founder and CEO of Pixels. You guys know who Pixels is. It's the largest Web3 game by daily active users with over 2.5 million total players. Pixels is a social casual Web3 game powered by the Ronin Network, focusing on farming, exploration, and creation in an open world. As CEO, Luke's mission is to build the biggest Web3 casual games company. This lad started his software engineering career and background, maybe not career, but background at the age of 12. What a sick puppy, coding at the age of 12. And he built and sold his first app at 18 and holds a bachelor's degree in comp sci and economics from the University of Michigan. Oh, what a school University of Michigan is. If we have any young listeners on the pod, if you want a good education and a good party town, go to Ann Arbor. It's an absolute treat. Luke, welcome to the show, my friend. How you doing? Pumped to have you on.
Yeah, doing good. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be on this.
Oh, I mean, you had to get it going here. You went to University of Mich. I'm a Canadian boy. I grew up in Toronto, played hockey my whole life. University of Michigan, you guys breed some of the best athletes. You guys breed literally some of the best hockey players ever. I had a couple buddies who went to U of Mich, and I got to go visit with them and stay with them. Oh my goodness, what a place. Ann Arbor is incredible. It's a talent factory. You got beautiful girls walking around everywhere. The campus is absolutely stunning. It's wild. How much fun did you have at University of Mich, dude?
Yeah, I mean, I had a good time. I feel like that was definitely the place that shaped me into who I am today. It was a really, really hard school academically, especially doing 2 degrees. It was not easy.
Of course.
But then what was nice was there was other aspects of life on campus as well. And part of the struggle was kind of figuring out how to make both of those work. There's that triangle, right, of like sleep, social life, grades inside of like a university setting. And I learned how to basically just like operate on no sleep. So it's good because I built a lot of grit that I honestly wouldn't have done if I didn't go to university. And that was something I was debating for a while too. I was the kind of person that was flirting with dropping out basically every single year. I started coding when I was like 12 years old. And I had full-time job offers starting when I was like 17, 18 to go work for companies as a software engineer. And I'm really glad I stuck through it because like one, getting a proper university degree, it teaches you things that you wouldn't teach yourself. Like I probably would have been just fine coding. I probably could have been like a good programmer if I continued down that route, just going like full-time into the workforce. But I don't know, I wouldn't have gotten the economics background.
Exactly.
And
the discipline. The discipline, like they teach you how to haul ass, they teach you how to get papers in, exams on no sleep. Like it moves the needle later on in your career.
Yeah, and even just like from the computer science side of things, if anybody's looking to get a degree like that, like you can be successful being self-taught, but you probably won't teach yourself the thing that is really hard, like all the theory, all the computational side of things. So yeah, I don't regret going to university, is what I'll say. I know there's like this lore of college dropouts in the startup space, but it was good for me.
I love that. Let's go back to age 12. Like that's insane. I'm trying to think. When I was 12 years old, I was playing high-level hockey. I was maybe just started getting interested in girls. Definitely wasn't coding or anything like that. I was playing a lot of RuneScape. I know you were as well. But like, how did you get into software engineering at age 12? That's pretty wild.
Yeah, there might be an inverse correlation with software engineering and interesting girls. But I don't know. I can't really explain it. I started using this program called Game Maker when I was like 11 or 12 years old. And it had a scripting language in it called GML at the time. And it's interesting because I think a lot of people's journey into game development was through Game Maker as well.
Cool.
Yeah. I started making like tiny mini games doing that. I would make them for my friends. I just thought it was a really cool thing. And eventually, because I taught myself a scripting language, I also started teaching myself like HTML, CSS, PHP back at the time. I just thought it was really cool that I could build without like any limits, if that makes sense. Fun fact about me, I'm not sure if I advertise this a lot, it's like a little nerdy part of me, but in 2011 or 10, I think, I won this nationwide contest for building with Kinects, if you know that toy. It's like Legos, except like you can make roller coasters, things like that. Maybe deep on the internet, if you Google my name, you can find some articles on that. I thought coding was really cool because I basically got unlimited Kinects. Like I can just build whatever I want and I have to go buy more of these like toy pieces anymore. And I think that was a draw to me. And then, that kind of evolved into like web development and different tech like that.
That's so cool. I love the comparison there too. And then your sort of crypto side of things, you also got into Bitcoin mining super early. You tell me, walk me through that story as well.
I'm not a Bitcoin millionaire. I want to make that clear. For some reason, I went through a hacking phase. I thought it was really cool that I could like try to hack external software, things like that. A little beyond like the script kiddie thing even. But I mean, Bitcoin was obviously pretty popular in those circles. And I thought it was the coolest thing. I could just leave my parents' computer on and make money. Bitcoin was very cheap back then. It was like $13 even. You could still mine it on a home computer back in the day. But yeah, I also like kept partitioning hard drives, like wiping them all the time, thinking I was just like crazy hacker. So lost all that Bitcoin, but it's fine. we don't think about the past like that.
Well, the other thing too, and I mean, this is something that I often think about. Like if I was fortunate enough to get in super early, and my only sort of, get in early moment was back in 2013, my first year of uni, where I was doing a lot of sports gambling, and on Bodog, there was an opportunity to get a lot of your bonuses in Bitcoin. And I think they would honestly just give it to you in Bitcoin, and then you would have to sort of hit the 1-2 click to transfer it to, for me, Canadian dollars. Now I had up to, I forget the exact number, but it was between 350 and 400 Bitcoin. And I'm like, this is what, like $10 a pop. And like when you're 18, 19 years old, like $3,500 is a lot of money. Like that's some pretty good cake. So I'm like, fuck this. Like I'm transferring this over to crypto or to CAD, excuse me. But I often ask myself, if you would have kept that, there's no chance I would have not sold. Like at the time, if it was
so early, if it's $100, I would have sold. Like, yeah.
Oh my God. If it's 10, 15 bucks a pop and it goes to 100, like I'm taking that 10 bag and I'm gone. So to all the people that have actually like had the conviction to get in as early as you did and actually hold it, like crazy, crazy people. But let's keep buzzing here. We're off to a great start. I'm having a blast. Let's jump right into Pixels. Like walk me through why you and the team started this. This is just like, there's a lot of Pixel-esque games, and Pixels and sort of crypto gaming are sort of synonymous, but not a lot of teams have really had successful traction, like let alone getting 700,000 plus daily active addresses and 500,000 plus daily active users. Like I can't name 10 crypto games that have 6-figure users, and you guys have 500,000 every single day. It's absolutely wild. Start me off with like the inception, you and the team, when you guys started to build it. What was the inspiration? I know Axie had a pretty big, part of that, I believe, but walk me through everything into sort of where you guys are present day and how insane the journey has been.
Yeah, I've always had a love for like the retro and pixel art. So before Pixels, I was actually working on a different product, and we kind of turned that tech into Pixels. This product that we were building out, if you know the product Gather.town, we were competing with that for a bit. It was just me though. It was like me and like 2 other people in like the very, very early stage of a startup. And yeah, if you don't know the product Gather.town, basically it was like a combination of Zoom and an online game like Pokemon, where you walk around and if you get close to people, it opens up video chats. It was spatial video. And yeah, I built one of the first applications of that and got it to market really quickly. And I was selling this technology to enterprise companies. So we sold to Apple, Uber, Rippling, Twitter, this 8-bit pixel art product where they could like host events, like mixers, events, holiday parties, things like that. That wasn't like the best business, to be honest. What we found with these virtual spaces that we were giving to companies or users was that the best use case scenario that we saw was these people use these spaces for about once a week for an hour in the best case scenario. And these larger companies used it once a quarter, and they had no other need for it. So then in summer 2021 is when I started, diving into Axie a little bit. We had this tech. It was really hard tech to build out, this virtual persistent space tech. And, didn't really know what to do with it at that point. I was just willing to throw it all away because, I thought this tech really didn't have a future. And, at the same time, Axie was coming up, and I was just looking into like, what else am I going to do in my next stage of life? If I'm trying to like build another business, or if I'm, trying to see if I can take this tech somewhere else. And yeah, that was around the time when Axie was blowing up, and a lot of thought pieces were getting put around Axie as well. Like there was this concept of virtual nation building back in like summer 2021. That was one of the metas at the time. And that was actually fascinating to me. I studied economics, and I really thought that degree was going to be useless. I just studied it because I really liked it, and I wanted to have something else besides computer science. But the idea of building an economy ground up in side of like the context of cryptocurrency, like it made total sense to me. Where to me, that was the first application of a Web3 currency that made practical sense and was something that, I thought was pretty cool. So yeah, we started to see if that was something that we wanted to move into. And at the same time, there's this NFT collection that was using our old products as a meetup spot for once a week for an hour. And they kept bugging me to put
Like
their
IRL?
NFTs.
Like IRL meetups?
No, they were using it as a virtual meetup spot.
I see.
Yeah, they would like, come and like do social events inside of this tech. And yeah, they kept bugging me like, how cool would it be if we put our NFTs into this like product? That'd be so insane. And at first I completely ignored them. I wasn't like super into the Web3 side of things, so I was getting some interest. And then yeah, they offered to pay, and that perked up my ears a little bit. Because getting revenue in an early stage startup is not an easy thing. So if you have somebody willing to pay you for something that's compelling, at least. And yeah, we ended up doing this integration of an NFT into this product where if you, connect the MetaMask, you could actually walk around as your NFT inside of the game. And yeah, that ended up being extremely popular. And we started doing that a little bit more and got some early Web3 traction that kind of solidified, my interest in moving into this direction. So this whole pivot was really quick. I think we did the first NFT integration in like late October, fully pivoted and like launched an NFT collection in like December.
That's wild.
The farmland NFT. And then yeah, it's been Web3 ever since.
So I guess before we move on, can you tell a little bit more about Pixels as a whole? I don't want to, I'm not going to explain this because I have an idea of what it is, but you obviously can do a much better job than me. And I'd love for you to give some comparisons to like the pieces that you guys have taken from the best Web2 games. Give us the lay of the land in regards to the game, how it works, how there's some type of in-game economy and incentive model. Obviously the token launch has been incredible as well. You guys got listed on Binance. Congrats for that. Huge congrats. And then we'll get into some of the nitty gritty stuff here.
Yeah. So if you take a surface level look at Pixels, you might not completely understand the depth going on there because there's a lot of depth right now. But on the surface level, it looks like Stardew Valley if it was an MMO. Really how it plays is it's more like Stardew Valley meets Diablo Auction House meets Incentive and Growth Engine. And that's a lot of the stuff that we're focused on. So Web3 gaming, in my mind, it's like 40% games, 60% everything else. And I think a lot of people in the space underestimate how much of the rest of the stuff you need to build in addition to a game to make a successful Web3 game. So a lot of the stuff that we're focused on is what I like to call the growth engine. And that's kind of, in line with our longer term plans of how we see what Pixels is and the future roadmap as well. So a lot of the work that we do is around incentive design and basically a new form of user acquisition. And to me, that's the key unlock inside of Web3. Web3, if you use it properly, is an extremely powerful tool. And it unlocks new types of ways for games to grow that don't exist inside of Web2. And what we've been experimenting with is basically what we call a bottoms-up growth approach. So the thesis here is in Web2 games grow from performance marketing. Essentially what they do is they get a idea of the demographics of users that they want to target. So like say, I want to advertise to 40-year-old moms. They'll run ads and then they'll optimize all the way down the funnel and spend per user. And then it just becomes a game of math for them. They just look at LTV to CAC and then they'll decide if this game is successful or not right there. If their LTV to CAC is looking great, they'll pour millions and millions of dollars into advertising. And they need to raise a ton of money to do that. In Web3, we take the complete opposite approach to our growth strategy, where instead, what we like to think about is how can we create the best incentive structures to help our users help us grow? And we actually don't spend any money on advertising. We've spent maybe like $5,000 to $10,000 lifetime to date on user acquisition. And I think like $3,000 of that was giving away a lawnmower and just like other really silly Twitter giveaways, things like that. But we haven't done any paid advertising, no performance marketing, anything like that. And to me, that's the key that we're really doing here. It's like, how can we grow games in this new way that make our growth strategies like basically hyper competitive against the Web2 games? And the idea that we're trying to focus on and like key things we're trying to focus on are, can we take Pixels, can we scale this to be as big as possible? And can we take this growth engine that we're building and also apply it to other games in the ecosystem eventually? Kind of the Zynga play inside of Web3 essentially.
Everyone knows Zynga back in the day when all the Facebook games, when the traditional Web2, Zynga like sort of kicked off the free-to-play revolution. Like, I mean, it probably wasn't Zynga as a whole, but every single good game, you remember seeing that Zynga logo, top right, bottom left, bottom right, whatever. It was somewhere within that game, you remember seeing that Zynga. It's pretty wild how they like dominated the market so quickly.
And that's kind of our ambition too, inside of this next chapter of gaming, which we think is going to be play to earn. Can we take and be basically the play to earn company? And can we take this and scale this into other games as well?
And can you walk me through this growth engine that you talk about again? So, and just for the listeners at home, if you aren't familiar with Zynga is this absolute behemoth. I'm not too familiar with them nowadays as I don't game too much, full disclosure, but back in the day, 10 years ago, heck, way more than 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I'm 29 now, back when I was, 10 to 15, 10 to 18 kind of thing. When I was playing games, Farmville, all those kind of games, you had Zynga absolutely blowing up. And they owned this massive syndicate of games. When you would go on like Facebook and look at the top 100 games, Zynga probably had 80 of them. You go in the App Store, you look at the best games, Zynga had 80% of them. It was an absolutely wild behemoth of a company, dominated market share. Moving over to present day and with Pixels, so you guys use this growth engine, sort of the in-game economics, the tokenomics that you have, the team, the IP, and you're just going to build a shitload of really fun, addicting games under the sort of Pixels umbrella, if I understand this correctly.
Yeah, that's the idea. There's a lot of work to get there. And we're still building out, like discovering what exactly this looks like and how it works. And, to get there, we've taken a pretty non-traditional approach compared to many game studios. We build in public and we build with community. We take a lot of the Web3 ethos and we actually integrate that tightly into our company culture, how we build, how we develop. And yeah, that's been one of the difference makers between us and maybe some other Web3 games in the space right now. It's really, really difficult to pull this off as well, say. But I don't know, I'm basically all in on play to earn. I think it's possible to make it sustainable. And I think the company that cracks that has a huge opportunity in front of them. So yeah, a lot of the work that we've been doing is basically building with the community. We're still a very experimental company. We don't have all the answers yet, but the whole idea is we want to get there as quick as possible. So we take this building and public approach where we actually build with our community. We try things all the time. We have 500,000 daily active users. These are 500,000 daily active guinea pigs still. And our whole community is aware of that, where we try things, a lot of the stuff that we tried doesn't work, or it doesn't work in the very first iteration, but we work with the community to make it better, fix it, and basically progress through this journey that we're on together. So yeah, we still have probably 1 to 2 years of really fine tuning what this looks like inside of our own game, this first game that we're building out, Pixels, the game that everybody's playing and enjoying right now. But yeah, the ambition is much more in the future.
Oh, Luke, I love the candor. So refreshing. So many, we know exactly what we're doing. We got the 5-year plan. Every day is going to be executed to a T. Come on. It's hogwash. That's bollocks. I love it. I love the candor.
You hear that from a lot of games that haven't actually released a Web3 game is what I'll say. And yeah, I think a lot of people are in for a bit of a shock when they actually have a live Web3 game out. It is really complicated and very hard to do Web3 live ops. And, this is our approach, the building and public approach, the iterative experimental approach. Not everybody's going to go with that approach, but I see no other way that us as a team could find success in this space without doing this.
I love it. Luke, you're on fire. We got to take a quick break here, give a huge shout out to our sponsor of the show. And when we get back, we are going to keep buzzing on everything Pixels related. Until then, huge shout out to Prime XBT, longtime friends of CryptoNews.com and the Crypto News podcast. We love the Prime XBT team as they offer a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. Doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet, you can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. Prime XBT is also running an exclusive promo for listeners of the Crypto News podcast. The promo code is CryptoNews50. That's CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Again, that's CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. And now back to the show with Luke. Luke, you got a great Twitter. One of my favorite tweets is from 3 days ago, and I will read it. It goes, every successful Web3 founder either played RuneScape growing up or ran a Minecraft server. I don't make the rules. This is so true. It's just wild. What is it about these in-game economies? I never played Minecraft. I mean, I messed around with it very little. I was addicted to RuneScape though. My parents would be yelling at me and telling me to get the heck off the computer. Back at home growing up, we had one desktop, no laptops. So I'm stealing computer time from my parents and from my brother. It was so addicting. The stuff you learned in that game as a 10-year-old is just you see so many relations and similarities and antidotes to today, more specifically to Web3 gaming. What made you fire off that tweet, and why is that the case? And I must say, it is 100% true. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I mean, it's 100% a trend that I've noticed when I'm talking to other Web3 founders. And note that, like, RuneScape, there's some equivalents in other geographies, like Ragnarok Online or Maple Story was really popular in some other geographies. But I think that experience of having played an MMO early on, or having like a lot of your time into an MMO, makes you inherently understand in-game economies and the use of cryptocurrency as well. Because a lot of these MMOs like RuneScape, World of Warcraft, they effectively are play to earn games already. You could sell gold on black markets in RuneScape. I bought gold, I sold accounts, I bought accounts. It's like a normal thing to all of us who've already played MMOs, right? So introducing like a Web3 currency inside of these games makes really a lot of sense to some people. And then, the Minecraft server thing too. I think that's a mark of a lot of entrepreneurs I've noticed too, that are like in my generation or age, where I've just seen a lot of people who, have started building companies. For some reason, they ran Minecraft servers. And it's just like a fun correlation with that too. I mean, running a Minecraft server was a lot of work for some people, right? You had to basically set up your own mini business, like learn how to do all the DevOps around it, and build out community too. And that skill set you build at an early age doing some of that kind of stuff translates really well to entrepreneurship.
It's so true. One thing I'd love to discuss is your token, and that is Pixel. A lot of teams launch token. I don't want to shit on people right here, but I guess I don't really have a choice. But a lot of teams launch token, TGEs not too long after, game comes out years after there's a token. The token starts at $1, goes to cents because there's no ecosystem. And it's just, you see this time after time after time. It's a quick way to raise money. The founding team gets to take some of that money. They're not even really selling coins. It's just when you have some of the operating cost. We've seen this model time after time. It hasn't worked. I honestly can't even really name any companies that have done it successfully. You guys had game out, you guys built, shipped, and then launched token. Why aren't more teams doing this? And just a little segue into that, like, what was the thought process behind this? Clearly, you guys made the right move. Clearly, it was the right decision. Was there ever, were you guys ever getting a little horny to maybe launch the token early? Because, the community's always up your ass about, Luke, give us a token, give us a token. We want to make money. Walk me through that whole thing and how you guys executed this. Because again, it's just, you guys are doing a great job.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most simple answer is a lot of teams launch tokens sooner than they should because it's the easier thing to do. And, actually having something that's ready to use a token is quite difficult. Now, we've felt prepared for a very long time, actually. We've had a live game for over 2 years. And even then, like, the actual process of launching a token isn't one that you should take lightly. It's quite difficult and it takes a lot of time, actually, too. So it does scare me a bit when I see teams that, maybe see some of the stuff that we've done. They're like, oh, we need to launch a token ASAP, because there's a lot of thought, a lot of preparation, and a lot of other processes that need to go into the whole launch of a token as well. And I mean, if you look at the market, you can see a lot of people who launch it maybe a bit sooner than they should be. And I'm fearful for them because it's a very large commitment. It's a very big thing to do. And it shouldn't be taken lightly. And, us doing this as well was not something that we took lightly. We had a soft currency inside of the game that was a Web3 currency. And it was actually, this is kind of a second version of our Web3 game in a way, right? We had a soft currency that was a Web3 currency. It was called Berry. And the tokenomics were quite inflationary of that first try that we had, basically. And we learned so much managing this live Web3 currency, Berry, before we actually launched the Pixel token. Now, we ended up sunsetting Berry because it was actually so much of a problem and something that was high risk to our users. So we wanted to basically de-risk that whole situation and essentially do like version 2 of the tokenomics inside of the Pixel token. And we're really glad that we got the lessons that we learned through this first go, because otherwise, this second go maybe wouldn't have been as successful, right? So the tokenomics are something that I'm very interested in. I'm very, very hands-on with how we design that. And it's pretty nuanced and in depth on how you need to think about a token. But to me, I think a lot of it's just framing. Like, how do you view the token? How is it used inside of the game? And what is the point of launching it? That's what you need to ask yourself when you actually are going to build a Web3 game in general, right? Like for us, we ask ourselves all the time, why are we launching a Web3 game? What's the point of all of this suffering of building in Web3? And is it actually helping us achieve some of the end goals that we want? And the answers that we had to that are very different now than they were 2 years ago even. So for us, it's a lot of just learning about what it actually means to have a Web3 game that's out. What is the value add of Web3 inside of gaming? And how does Web3 actually make gaming better? And yeah, it sounds like these are very simple questions, but the answers and the things that you learn are not so clear at first. And I think you just need to actually be in the space to kind of understand and build an idea around how these Web3 components should actually interact inside of a game. So for us, it was a lot of preparation, a lot of thought, and a lot of experimentation to get here.
I love that. But you got to walk us through Binance. Every team in crypto wants their token launched on either Binance or Coinbase. Binance, you have the whole world minus USA pretty much. And for Coinbase, you have USA. I don't even think there's a third that comes remotely close. Maybe some of the Asian exchanges, the OKX, the KuCoins. I mean, KuCoin's in trouble right now, but story for another day. Walk us through the actual process of launching on Binance. How much KYC did they ask for? I guess in your case, KYB, know your business, but like how much of a shit show was that? How stern were they on the negotiation side? I know you can't tell us everything, but please do tell as much as you can, because that's something that definitely interests me, and I know our listeners will love to hear as well.
Yeah, I mean, what I can say is Binance probably understands Web3 and tokenomics better than anybody I've talked to over the last 2 to 3 years when it comes 100%. To like 100%. A high-level partnership. Yeah, even like the big VCs, like Binance was doing more DD, asking more questions, and trying to make sure that we had something that was sustainable, was actually of real value, and was well thought out. So their DD process was quite extensive, like months and months and months. It was not a short one, and it was quite intense. But yeah, I'm actually very grateful that they have that process. I can say that they, actually put a lot of thought into the things that they launch, and they have a lot of concern for the things that they launch. For them, right, like they don't want to launch something that affects their users negatively. They have a very, very strong protective aura around their users. And yeah, it reflects in that process, that DD process.
I love that. We are getting a little tight for time here, Lou. A couple more questions and we will wrap up. Ronin blockchain. You guys started on Polygon back in 2020, 2021. Polygon had the narrative. You heard it everywhere. It was on every major news outlet. There was an article in Crypto News every single day about it. It was the talk of crypto Twitter. Polygon will be a dominant blockchain, and every single Web3 game will be built on Polygon. Clearly, that is not the case. I mean, they're still a great blockchain. I mean, I own Polygon as well. I'm an investor in Polygon, not, like seed round or anything like that. I own some Matic. But why the move from Polygon to Ronin? A lot of teams are moving over to Ronin. A lot of teams are moving over to other blockchains from Polygon. Why is that? Why is everyone jumping ship from Polygon to other blockchains?
Yeah, I mean, for us, and I'm not trying to say anything bad about the Polygon team. I have a lot of respect for the tech that they built, like a lot of the high-level BD that they've done. But the hardest part of Web3 is user acquisition and distribution. And what I can say is Ronin had a level of distribution that doesn't exist anywhere else inside of Web3 right now. They've done the hard work of onboarding millions of users onto the Ronin chain through Axie Infinity already. And that is extremely valuable. It is very costly to onboard new Web3 users into an ecosystem. And like when I say costly, I mean like there's a lot of chains that pay like $100 per user to get new users inside of the ecosystem. It's quite insane. So when you're thinking about from the game perspective of the economics around it, games can't pay $100 to acquire a user. That just would not work economically, right? So Ronin was really interesting to me because of this distribution that they potentially have, where I kind of viewed Ronin as almost like a new type of publisher in a way, where they have access to a great dedicated user base. We saw what the affinity to was to Axie Infinity. People love Axie. And even though Axie's DAU was slightly down, right? our thesis was that they still had all of these users onboarded into their own ecosystem that could be resurrected. And that turned out to be very true. Like, a lot of our users now are from the Ronin ecosystem. I would say the majority of them are like former Axie Infinity players. And even then we're seeing like very similar growth patterns to how Axie Infinity originally grew too, where we're getting very, very strong traction inside of Southeast Asia originally. Now we're getting more traction in like other markets as well. But yeah, it really all started with that core Axie Infinity user base that Ronin had built out. And we're extremely grateful for this partnership. It's been amazing. And just to add on to that even too, like part of the added benefit of moving onto the Ronin network is, I had this chip on my shoulder, this like, annoyance in my mind for a long time of all of these people who were trying to give us advice inside of Web3 gaming who actually had not launched the Web3 game. I was getting very sick of that because if you haven't actually been there and done it, you don't understand what actually comes with launching a Web3 game. It is difficult. And the, Ronin Sky Mavis team, they're really the only team that has experience scaling a Web3 game. And the knowledge that comes with that is invaluable. So part of the attraction to moving on to that ecosystem too was the mentorship and the guidance that that team might be able to give us. And I can say for a fact that it saved us months and months of time in certain situations. They've stopped us from going down rabbit holes that they've already tried that didn't work. They can give us some very pointed advice on things that did work well for them, things that didn't. It's great. I'm so thankful to be working with them.
I love that. Well said, dude. Luke, incredible episode. Really appreciate you coming on. And at the rate you guys are building, round 2 will be relatively soon, and we'd love to see that. Before we let you go, can you please let our listeners know where they can find you personally and Pixels online and on socials?
Yeah, so Pixels, the website is pixels.xyz. You can start playing for free. Our Twitter is @pixels_online. And my personal Twitter is what's Luke doing.
I love it. What was the inspo behind that? Was that any good story there, or was that just a good handle?
Just a good handle, yeah.
just.
I'm a very active person on the personal side of things. Like I'm one of those people who all my people in my life are just asking like, Luke, where are you? Because they have no idea. I'm always somewhere different. And
moving and grooving.
Yeah.
I love it. Luke, really appreciate you coming on, man. Can't wait for round 2. This was great and appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Folks, what an episode with Luke Barwikowski, the CEO and co-founder of Pixels. Huge shout out to Luke and the team for making this happen. What an episode. Everything Web3 gaming related, growing to 500K daily active users at still an absolutely bonkers stat. Building on the Ronin blockchain, we covered it. Again, huge shout out to Luke and the team for making this happen. To the listeners, if you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you did, please do subscribe. It would mean the world to my team and I. Speaking of the team, love you guys. Eustace, you are the man. And back to the listeners, love you guys. Keep on growing those bags. Keep on staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Bye for now, and we'll talk soon.